Welcome and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Demansing. Topping our newscast tonight, another big announcement came Tuesday from the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority. Another renewable energy project that could generate over 1 million kilowatt hours annually and could lighten the financial load for WAPA customers. Here's News 2's April Knight with details.
Motorists driving along Dunno Road on Sen Thomas have noticed the hillside stripped and barren. In a groundbreaking ceremony on Tuesday, the Water and Power Authority shed light on what's about to rise up on this landscape, a 5-megawatt solar power installation.
Quite a few naysayers in the Virgin Islands that said WAPA has no commitment to solar. This is our second groundbreaking for solar, the first one having been over in St. Croix. This one here today is a big moment for us in St. Thomas.
The project will actually be funded and constructed by Main Street Power, which will own it for the next 25 years. The energy produced by the plant will be sold directly to WAPA. The uneven terrain did pose a challenge to Main Street Power.
As you can see, it's a pretty challenging site, steep. This is obviously the start of the construction period, but as you've heard from Director Hodge and others, it was quite a long road to get here.
But if built successfully, it'll produce clean, renewable energy. WAPA expects approximately 1.4 million kilowatt hours a year out of this installation alone. Along with the solar power plant on St. Croix, the installations will generate about 15% of the territory's peak load demand. The plant means less dependence on fossil fuel, and WAPA says this not only cuts the VI's greenhouse gas emissions, it could also mean a lower fuel surcharge for WAPA clients.
Impacts the quality of life, the quality of service, whether from the reliability, the efficiency, the cost, or just sustaining a future here.
The project should be completed in January 2015, and many hope that with the rise of the solar panels on this hillside comes a dip in power cost for WAPA customers. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
In other news, as reported on Monday, major crime detectives on St. Croix continue to investigate the death of 29-year-old Cordelius Monchery, whose body was discovered in shallow water just south of Rainbow Beach about 10:30 a.m. on May 12 by concerned citizens. Police said the victim had at least one deep cut to the back of his neck. Monchery was reported missing by his family about 9:30 a.m. on May 12 and was last seen by his family the day before about 7 p.m. Detectives are asking for anyone who may know anything about this murder to please call. Meanwhile, Criminal Investigation Bureau detectives on St. Croix have issued a wanted poster for Joseph Woodfolk. Woodfolk is wanted in connection to a second-degree burglary, forcible and unlawful entry, and trespass. Police say the incident happened at Cottages by the Sea on March 8th. Joseph Woodfolk, also known as JW, is originally from Ohio and frequents Estate LaGrange and Frederickstead Town. He is 36 years old, dark complexion, 6'1", and weighs 168 pounds. Police are asking the community to call if they know the whereabouts at 712-6077, 712-6037-911, or you can call Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-800-222-TIPS. Corrections officials are continuing their investigation to find out how a Golden Grove inmate escaped and was on the run for more than 12 hours. Law enforcement heads held a news conference Monday to update the media, and News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
Investigators at the Golden Grove prison are still baffled as to how a convicted rapist was able to get out of his locked cell and escape the prison 2 days ago.
We're going through any letters he may have gotten or trying to see what phone calls you may have gotten, but nothing has popped out at us yet.
39-year-old Raphael Joseph was recaptured Monday by law enforcement agencies, but not before allegedly raping a former girlfriend. That report was corrections' first indication that Joseph was gone since the last head count Sunday night.
Is there any way to do a walking head count at night or something so that 6 hours don't pass before we realize someone's gone? And we only realize that because he's committed another crime.
This is Warden Richards. We're definitely looking into that. That's part of our investigation, is those protocols were followed.
Officials say the investigation will take several days to complete, but the independent monitors charged with ensuring the prison's compliance of a consent decree had already warned that the locks on prison cells could be opened.
I don't want to suggest that it did, but we don't know all the possibilities right now. We've got maintenance looking at all the locks, and we got investigators trying to trace all of his steps.
Staff shortages are also being looked at to see just where the system failed, but officials say they plan to invest in better surveillance equipment. In fact, fiber optic cable is being installed now that had to be done before any cameras could be installed. While Director Wilson said they're still not sure how Joseph got out of his cell, they do know that he escaped the back of the prison.
We figured out where they've exited on the fence so far, and we're going to reinforce that area with concertina wire. We really want to talk to this particular person and get as much information as we can so we could fix any gaps that are in our security.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Requests for an interview were not returned by News Time, but Director Wilson said Monday they do have funds from a grant to buy new cameras. It just has to be sent out for bid. Senator Sen Gettin today reacted to the escape and stated that he is disturbed by the lack of communications and adherence to the protocol within the BOC. He said that it's no surprise that just a little over a month after federal officials raided the prison for illegal contraband, a prisoner escapes, and additionally a victim was victimized. Senator Gettin said the administration's immediate attention is again necessary. A majority of the members of the 30th legislature have already expressed a lack of confidence in Director Wilson's ability to lead the institution, and therefore, through a resolution requested, the governor asked for Director Wilson's resignation or termination, according to Gittins. We'll keep you updated. The Committee of the Whole, in another update, met at the Otley Legislative Hall in Sen Thomas to discuss reforms to the government employees' retirement system and efforts to save the territory's pension system.
If truth be told, the system, the GERS has done a number of things. It has invested in a number of activities or investments that have resulted in, I would call it, losses to the system. And every member of the system feels the impact of those losses. And I am here today because we need to expose Mr. Nibs. We need to expose what has happened and has taken place at Carambola. Mr. Nibs, if somebody doesn't go to jail, then something is wrong with this territory.
And we will have more on GERS reforms. Virgin Islands youth who are going through rough patches in life are given second chances with a project by the Department of Human Services in collaboration with Woodward Academy. DHS is making sure Virgin Islanders are better trained in dealing with young people in high-risk situations.
Primarily deals with boys that have gotten in trouble that are either placed by DHS or juvenile justice. They are an all-boys facility. They have 3 different programs. They have a highly structured 90-day program, a residential program that's 6 to 9 months, and then a long-term residential program for students that have had sexual issues. That's a 9 to 18-month program.
Met with a couple area schools. We've been to the DHS office here, that kind of thing. Talked with some judges, and we're just trying to get to know the culture, that kind of thing down here a little bit better to be able to help some of the Virgin Islands students that come to the academy.
Currently, right now, we're about to have a forum where the academy gets to hear a little bit about all the groups in the community that are currently doing great things for high-risk youth.
Beginning July 1st, the BVI Port Authority will require a $5 security fee from all visitors leaving the islands, no matter where they're returning to. The fee will be added onto the BVI's existing departure tax. Residents will now pay $15 per person, and non-residents will pay $20. According to officials, the BVI Office of the Premier and BVI Ministry of Finance voted last year to increase the per-person departure tax from $5 to $10 per person for residents and $15 for non-residents. The search for more than 200 kidnapped Nigerian schoolgirls is intensifying, with the U.S. now sending drone aircraft over the Western African nation. Craig Boswell has the details from the White House.
A Boko Haram video of the kidnapped Nigerian schoolgirls is reopening wounds for others who have suffered at the hands of the Islamic extremist group. Deborah Peters survived a Boko Haram attack on the same village.
When they killed my dad and my brother, I really don't know what is happening because I was shocked.
The 14-year-old knows some of the kidnapped schoolgirls and prayed after she saw the video.
I pray to God that God will release them soon.
Boko Haram has held the girls for nearly a month. The Nigerian government says there's still an open window to negotiate their release. CBS News has learned the U.S. has now launched drone aircraft over Boko Haram areas of Nigeria to assist in the search. The U.S. is flying global Hawk drones. They are bigger and fly higher than other drones in the U.S. fleet.
What the unmanned drone gives you is the ability to sit over a particular site for a long time to understand what's happening down below.
U.S. intelligence officers are also looking at every frame of this video, working to pinpoint where Boko Haram is holding the girls. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
And be sure to tune into CBS Evening News at 7:30 for these and more top national stories right here on CBS TV2. Keeping our eye on the economy, snow and ice storms made this the worst winter to fly in 20 years, and that's according to the Department of Transportation. During the first 3 months of this year, U.S. airlines canceled 4.6% of their flights. In other news, Google may soon have it to change how it links information. In a landmark decision, the Court of Justice of the European Union said Google must listen and sometimes comply when individuals ask it to remove links to newspaper articles or websites containing personal information. Here's the New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. The Dow and S&P up, the Dow at 19, and the NASDAQ down at 13. Coming up on News 2, issues with mental health, especially if they're chronic, can be debilitating. Your body can respond physically to depression, or much like it does to physical illness. And sometimes mental problems can actually be caused by a physical condition. Our Mental Health Minute is coming up next. As part of Mental Health Awareness Month, tonight's segment features a look at health and longevity and the role psychology plays in it. You will be informed in regards to the 6 key components to health and longevity and the big 3 negative emotions. News2's Shanika Robinson has tonight's Mental Health Minute.
What really determines how long you live is a frequently asked question, and Dr. Norman Anderson, the CEO of the American Psychological Association, has determined that there are 6 key components to health and longevity.
Emotions, thoughts and actions, personal achievement and equality, environment and relationships, faith and meaning, and biology. And all 6 of those are touched in some way, major or minor, by psychology.
According to Dr. Anderson, the big 3 negative emotions are depression, anxiety, and anger or hostility.
And one of the things we know from longitudinal studies is that depression, anxiety, and or anger, hostility, tends to increase the risk for heart disease.
A study from 1960 through 1980 measured the hostility of individuals, and the survival rate of those with low hostility was nearly 100% versus an 84% rate of individuals with high hostility.
There's a 14% difference. 14% survival rate can be determined by whether or not you're carrying around anger and hostility.
Checking your entire physical well-being would be beneficial to your health and longevity.
People tend to look at getting an annual checkup for their heart, their blood pressure, their cardiovascular system. They need to think in terms of getting a checkup for their emotional system, their mental health system if you want, psychological system. But an annual checkup of your psychological system is a wise thing to do.
Shaniqua Robinson, News 2.
On Thursday, May 15th, the Department of Mental Health will be hosting a seminar on your brain and you, how to be healthier and manage stress. That's from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Well, many are saddened to learn of the passing of Dr. James P. Clayton, owner and medical director of Red Hook Family Practice. Clayton passed away Sunday, May 11th in Canada after a 7-month battle with lung cancer at the age of 60. Dr. Clayton was born and raised in New York City and studied neuropsychology before attending medical school at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York. He practiced emergency medicine for several years in the Northeast before relocating to the USVI in 1990 and started both Cruz Bay and Red Hook family practices in 1991. He has been a resident for 24 years of the Virgin Islands. Survivors include his wife and sister. Condolences to the family of Dr. James P. Clayton. Due to the weather, a few events for Nurses Week were postponed, as we reported on Monday, May 14th. The Service Awards will be held at the VICC Conference Room number 1 at 10 a.m. on Friday, May 23rd. And the local reggae show we mentioned will take place at 6:30 p.m. at the racetrack, and the Hospitality Celebratory Parade, which was rescheduled to Saturday, May 24th from 10 a.m. to noon. That's from the VICC parking lot to the emergency room parking lot. We will continue to keep you updated on any further changes. Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.